of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it. And I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Yeah, don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great.
We are back for the One Pride podcast, and I gotta say, it feels really good to be back on here live streaming, alive, and having fun. I'm gonna do solo today, so we'll talk a little bit of Lions news and latest rumors, because we got free agency a couple weeks away. Things are starting to heat up. Got the NFL Combine about to hit next week, and it's time to really get in that hype mode, because the offseason is about to kick off. That's fun. It's no more speculation here soon. It's just going to be legit what is taking place. That's what it's all about, is getting the right pieces for this football team to compete for the 2023 NFL season and win, baby, just win. So a lot of stuff taking place, a lot of rumors. I tell you what, a lot of trade rumors, interesting trade rumors. I don't believe a lot of this stuff, just being 100% real with you. Lisa, what is going on is killing me. This is waiting for free agency in the draft. Yeah, and you're going to have a lot of speculation right now. I think that's what I want to dispel some of this stuff. You know, they came out yesterday about a potential trade for T. Higgins, the wide receiver, Cincinnati Bengals. The Lions would have to give up the 18th pick and a 2024 fourth-round pick. That's not happening. I give this about a 0% chance here of possibly happening. I'm not sure why the Lions would be in this conversation for T. Higgins. We already have wide receivers on this football team. Matter of fact, the wide receiver position is probably one of the last positions the Lions actually need to even upgrade in there. I think the Lions are going to try to re-sign DJ Chark. If it doesn't happen, it's not like you need a guy right now. I mean, you literally could draft a guy in the 5th or 6th round to compete for that spot, or go for a less pricey free agent like an Allen Lazard or something like that. So I don't think that's going to happen here. I know there's been Lamar Jackson trade rumors to the Detroit Lions. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think he's going to get franchise tagged, and if he doesn't go back, it's going to be a team like the Atlanta Falcons would probably pursue a Lamar Jackson. It's not going to be the Detroit Lions, because we are going to be building this team through the draft, and we can't be giving up 3 first-round picks right now at this moment in time. We got a quality players on the draft board that you can come in here and bring in. The Jalen Ramsey trade rumor, it probably is more legit in all honesty. I think there's a little bit of smoke there. Is it going to happen? I don't know. I would kind of hope not. That is my personal preference here. I don't think it's just thrown in the dark, though. Obviously the connections there with Brad Holmes and the Rams. It really all depends on what the compensation would be like. I don't believe the Lions would give up the 18th pick for a Jalen Ramsey who's 29 years old. He's still a top cornerback in the NFL, but you're talking about the 18th pick where you can really get damage there and get quality players at that spot. If you want to get a defensive back or a cornerback, there's probably going to be one available there that you can get on a cheap deal who's younger and has a higher, projected playing time for their career, except for Jalen Ramsey, who's probably just got a couple years left. So I don't believe that. I mean, I believe that there could be something to it. I'm sure conversations actually did occur. But for this to happen, it'd probably have to be a second-round pick. And I'm just not sure the Rams would be willing to give up Jalen Ramsey just for a second-round pick. They probably would demand a first-round pick. I just don't believe that Brad Holmes would give up such a high-valued pick for him. Now, there's obviously been trade rumors, the Lions potentially trading up in the draft from 6 to 3. I do believe there's legs to that one. If it will happen, I don't know. But you already know Brad Holmes is willing to trade up in the draft. We've literally seen it in the Penei Sewell draft. They almost traded up to get Penei Sewell. And then obviously last year they went from 32 to 12. So, I mean, they're a team that will look to get high-quality talent. And if you have to trade up to get the talent, they'll do it. I don't know exactly how much it would take for the Lions to move up from 6 to 3. You'd probably think it would be the 18th pick, and the Lions get like a 4th-round pick back. It'd have to be a high pick, or a 2nd-round pick and a 3rd-round pick. I don't know if they'll do that, but if they feel like a Jalen Carter or a Will Anderson is a stud, I actually believe they would do it. So I don't know. I'm sure the trade back is the scenario we're all wanting. And obviously the trade back rumors, I think that's the best option. And if you look at, there's blue chip players and they're all going to be gone by 6 unless some crazy luck happens. So if the Lions were to trade back, you'd have to have a quarterback like a Levis or a C.J. Stroud fall to the Lions at 6 for the Lions potentially to trade back. For a team that wants to get a quarterback that didn't get one if they're trading for Aaron Rodgers or if they're trying to get a Derek Carr, there was one of those teams that is left out. Now, I know there's a mock draft, Anthony Richardson. I think, what was it, NFL.com that did it to potentially getting Anthony Richardson at 18. First off, I don't think that's going to be the case. Secondly, I don't think Anthony Richardson will even be there at 18. I do feel like a team like the Carolina Panthers, who are desperate to get a quarterback, will overdraft Anthony Richardson. He'd probably be a top 10 pick. That's just generally how the quarterback position goes. So I don't think he's going to be available. In all honesty, I just don't think the Lions are going to do that. I am really, with all the research that I've done so far and all the scouting and tape and all that I have done so far, and this is before free agency because we don't know what's going to happen yet until free agency, but right now I'm really leaning towards, I feel like Jack Campbell's going to be a Detroit Lion in the 2nd round. I feel like O'Cyrus Torrence could be the pick at 18, him or Bijan Robinson, or a cornerback, a CB at that spot. That's kind of dropping it down to there. Now, we'll see in free agency. If Big V stays, we're not going to be drafting a guard. If he is cut, do not be shocked at O'Cyrus Torrence at pick 18 if he's available there, because you have to get a starter, and the Lions have scouted this guy multiple times, 5 times. Brad Holmes there personally watching these prospects from Florida, and no doubt about it, O'Cyrus Torrence is one of those prospects they were watching there. So it's kind of, what's interesting is I feel more confident at pick 18 on potential players to get drafted by the Detroit Lions than I do at pick 6. 18, it seems like it's going to be a CB, a potential offensive guard, only O'Cyrus Torrence though, and if Bijan Robinson is there. I think those seems to be logical picks. Cornerback still, I think, is a major need, but we don't know what's going to happen at pick 6, in all honesty. And I do feel like Jack Campbell is a 2nd-round selection by the Detroit Lions. I think it will be linebacker at some point in the 2nd round. But Jack Campbell really does remind me of Spielman. He seems logical to be a Detroit Lion. He is absolutely exactly what the Lions need. He's a Dan Campbell type of guy. He is just damn good. He's solid, great tackling, all of that. He just seems destined to be a Detroit Lion. So I feel confident in my final mock draft that I do before the real NFL draft. I'm probably going to have Jack Campbell as the pick. Paul, my health is better with Mike alive. Well, I hope you're doing good. 9 drinks in the building. I don't know if you're not feeling good or you're awake, but hopefully you're all feeling good. We got Paul Schmidt, Hi and Me, Just John, Charles Kelly, Weston Lyon, Chris Mason in the building. We got Huron Mark. What is up? Paul Grinder, Hugh Janus, the greatest name, Mr. Detroit City, welcome, Will Keckler, T. Drake, all in the building, Lions Kool-Aid, and Mofo. I'm going to miss your name. It's going to happen for sure. So that's what lots going on with the Detroit Lions right now. It's about to be real fun here. shortly, and that's what it's all about, is just having a good time. What's up, David? Micro Mike is the GOAT. Hugh Janus, you are the GOAT. You're all the GOATs. I'm just a guy here. If you got questions, we're just going to have some one-on-one time. So if you got questions, do hashtag Lions, hashtag whatever. We're just going to take some questions today and do that for 51 more minutes. So, I want to just kind of do a one-on-one because I missed out last week due to the COVID, and it looks like I got something in my beard. There, a little bit of beard, though. So if you got questions, let it know. First one here is about the old spine. How the back, Mike? It is doing really good. I actually just got done with therapy right before I got online at the VA, and look, I'm sore, but it's good. Building up that core and trying to put support around the spine is exactly what is needed here. If we don't re-sign Evan Brown, do you think we draft a center or look to free agency for a replacement? Either way, I like the center from Arkansas. If we don't sign Evan Brown back, it could be just we can sign a depth guard or a center, a depth guy in free agency where it wouldn't be too much, or they can find one in the 6th round, something like that. I would not suspect they're not going to draft a guard high for a backup role, so it'd probably be in the later rounds at that spot because we're pretty good with the starting positions. But as the backup role, it's a little bit different. You can always find good backups later in the draft. Hashtag Lions, how do we future-proof at quarterback position? Combat Sack. Well, I think, look, if you can get a quarterback in the 5th round, I think that's a good way to do it. You don't need a starter right now. You don't need a guy right now to supplant anything. Jared Goff is perfectly fine for what the Detroit Lions get. Then you can get a quarterback in the 5th or 6th round to develop and be your second-string quarterback. I think that's the best way to go. Remember, Jared Goff's got 2 years on his deal still left for the Detroit Lions, so we don't need to be a Lamar Jackson situation right now where you got to fork out $50 million. And if that's the rumor is, like next year we're at this time and Jared Goff's want like 45, 50 million, you just draft a quarterback at that time, and you still got a year left on his deal. So he's got 2 years left, the Detroit Lions deal, so I'm not too worried about getting the future quarterback right now. I'm really not. That is something that you let him play out this year, see how well he does. If he continues to grow, well, then there's no problem. I mean, but it all depends really on contractual situation there more than anything. But we're perfectly fine right now with the quarterback position. If I miss a question, just repost it. Hashtag FGB. Who do you think is going to be our top target in free agency? I got a hunch here. There's a couple players that I think the Lions could go for. Couple players for the Lions in the position. I think, if you're going to do it, it's probably, I feel like Jamel Dean, the cornerback of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, could legitimately be a target for the Detroit Lions. He's the perfect age of 26. He's going to cost a little bit of money. I think that could be their big free agent splash, and that would probably be the big one. So I'm thinking he could be the potential guy. I would not be shocked you start hearing rumors the Lions go for him. So watch for Jamel Dean. That's kind of what I'm zeroing in on right now. That potentially could be a Detroit Lion. Hashtag F the refs. Other than cornerback, is this the weakest draft you can remember? No, I don't think it's too much of a weak draft. I think for blue chip talent, I think it's weak for sure. I feel like there's only real 3 blue chip players: Bryce Young, Will Anderson, and Jalen Carter. And for the Detroit Lions, isn't necessarily 2 because Bryce Young's not going to be there at 6 at all. So I think for top tier talent, a little bit, but there's quite a bit of that second tier talent that you can find in the draft, and a lot of second round. You can find some great second round talent even in the 3rd round. So I like the top tier, yeah, but everything else, not so much. Jalen Carter, Will Anderson, both picked. No trade down options. Who do you take at pick 6? Ooh, this is a very good question here by Hugh Janus. This may not be the popular pick, but I'm probably going to go Myles Muphy at pick 6. I understand we have edge. To me, he would be the next best available player. I go BPA. I know a lot of people would say Devin Witherspoon or, Christian Gonzalez, something like that, in which I wouldn't mind at all. But Myles Muphy would be my next best player available. He could play in the interior. He could play on the outside. I think him and Aiden Hutchinson would wreak havoc. Then you'd have Comiskey who re-sign, as well as Joshua Pascal you had last year. His defensive line is very versatile at that point. I would love really to get Jalen Carter, as you all know, but I think that could be an option for the Lions. Number 2 would probably be Devin Witherspoon. So if you're looking at 6, it could be, to me, it's Myles Muphy. Unless he's gone, then it'd be Tyree Wilson. One of those two will be there, and then it could be a top cornerback. But personally, I would probably go Myles Muphy. $20 super chat from my guy, Mike McCall. Thank you so much. Says hashtag FGB. Last year, you found Kirby Joseph and promoted him early. Give us your hidden stud this year. Yeah, I absolutely loved Kirby Joseph. I thought he would be a great pick for the Detroit Lions because he had turnovers, and we need turnovers in a big way. I think that would have been a perfect selection for the Detroit Lions, and behold, that's the route that they went, for sure. I think for like an unknown guy the Lions could do, I don't know if he's really unknown though, but I do like Eli Ricks. He's a second-round talent, potential third-round talent. The cornerback, I think he's the best nickel corner. He gets turnovers as well. I think if the Lions were not to take a corner in the first round, or if they want to double up, he could be a value pick late in the second, early in the third round. If you're wanting to do a little bit later than that, you're talking about, okay, let's do 4th round, even though we don't got a 4th round pick. Byron Young, the edge rusher there from Florida A&M, I think he could be a solid option for the Detroit Lions. He's another universal player. Now, he's a little bit raw, but James Houston was raw as well. I think he could be a good player to have on different packages for the Detroit Lions. I do like those two players for Detroit. Thank you so much for that $20 super. Everybody show some love to Mike McCall in the comments section. Love it. What's up, Mike? Getting the ice in Holland, man. We got like a half-inch thick of ice over here. It is insane. I was telling TA in the back end, because he lives in Arizona, and I was showing him some of the stuff here in Michigan, and he's like, oh my God. But yeah, it was a massive ice storm. Massive ice storm. Free agent guard and draft the rest. I'm not about getting a free agent guard. And the reason why I'm not about doing that means you would be letting Big V go to turn around and pay for a guard that would be cost as much as Big V. It just kind of seems, it seems kind of too much. Personally, if you're going to get a new guard, I'd just do it in the draft. I would rather keep Big V than get a guard in free agency. I would rather do that. It's the devil you know than the devil you don't. Personally, that's the route I'm going to go. Let's see. Do you think the Lions should draft Devin Witherspoon or trade up for Jalen Carter? I'm 50-50 on the trade up. It really depends what it would be the Arizona Cardinals would want in a trade. I'm not wanting to give up pick 18. I really don't. I want to keep that selection. I think that's really important for Detroit to really build this team. I think there's approximately 15 first-round talents, in all honesty, and a ton of second-round. So if you have that ability, a player who is a first-round talent falls to 18, you can draft him for sure, and then you still got some options later in the draft, which I'm not worried that Brad Holmes can't get. But I just don't want to lose that. But Jalen Carter is an absolute stud. Okay, so if they were to trade up, you're not going to see me pissed off because I do think he's a game changer. And you want to get game changer. He's out of the 3 blue chippers, he's one of the 3. I mean, there's not that many blue chip talents in this draft. There's just not. And he's one of those guys. So I have no problem doing that. Wouldn't it be awesome if we got both Jack Campbell and Drew Sanders? We could set for the next 5 to 8 years at linebacker. Mr. Detroit City, I wouldn't mind that, but I just don't believe they would go 2 linebackers back-to-back because they're both second-round talent. Drew Sanders could possibly still be in the first round, right in the first round. I think he's an early second-round talent. But, yeah, you would be good to go. But, again, I think they'll get one of those guys, and I really think Jack Campbell's the target. I watch for who the Lions bring in for their 50 visits. Now, the past 2 years, Brad Holmes has selected half their draft picks have been players they have visited. So he's not trying to hide it, really, and I expect Jack Campbell and probably Drew Sanders both to take a visit there. But, yeah, it'd be outstanding, man. I mean, we got the problem at the linebacker position a big way. We only got 2 players right now currently signed. But I suspect the Lions will probably sign a starter in free agency. It would be Alex Anzalone, or maybe they do go out and get a Levante David, which I personally like. He's just a little bit older. I don't know if that's the route they're going to go. But I do think they'll sign a veteran, and they're going to draft one significantly high in the first 3 rounds. I'm hoping in the second round. That's where I'd like to get one. Devin Davis, hashtag smash the hole. Do we puck up Okudah's 5th-year option? I don't believe we're picking up 5th-year option for Jeff Okudah. I give it a 25% chance. I don't think they're picking it up. Make him earn his contract. To me, he's not earned it right now to make that $11.2 million to pick it up. He's not worth that right now, in all honesty. I would like him to earn it. Now, if he comes out here and balls, hey, you can re-sign him. Just because you don't pick a 5th-year option up doesn't mean he's not going to be a Detroit Lion. That's not the case. Josh Jacobs, his 5th-year option wasn't picked up, and all signs point to him being back to the Raiders. It's just one of those things where earn it, Okudah. It is time for you to earn it. That's the way I go there. And I want him to earn it. I want him to succeed. I want him to do good. I'm rooting him more than anybody, because if he can succeed, that's really good for the Lions defense, because we need help at the corner position, and we need him to be that number 1 guy. But make him earn it. I'm not going to just give it to him. I think I would be disappointed if we don't draft a running back early. What do you think? I wouldn't be disappointed, because you can find really good running back talent in the draft. You can find it all over the place. We do need help on defense in a big way, so it just depends who they would take over. Like, say, if you're a Bijan Robinson fan, I get it. He's the best running back. He is Saquon Barkley 2.0. 100% get it. But remember, you could still find good running backs in all the rounds. In every single round, you can find stud running backs. That's just how the running back position goes. So it just really depends who's there, who falls. Maybe Jahmyr Gibbs falls the 3rd round. If that happens, hey, I mean, that's pretty damn good. So don't be too upset at that. And look, I think they do draft one probably in the first 2 rounds. But if they don't, I'm not going to be upset about it. I'm not. I think it's a need. I do think it's a need, but I don't think it's like the number 1 pressing need. I really do believe that linebacker, cornerback, interior defensive line, and guard is more of a need. Like, those are needs that they must address. If they let Big V go, you got to take a guard early. In the first probably the first 3 rounds, you got to take a guard. I'm not going to get a starting guard in the 5th round. I personally like to get one early, and we got to get an interior defensive line. We do. We've seen the lack of pressure that was occurring on the interior, and we need it. And obviously, it's no doubt we need linebacker and cornerback. Those are massive needs. So I wouldn't be mad, but if they get one early, I'm not going to be mad either. And I would ask that everybody not get mad at Brad Holmes if they took a Bijan Robinson or 18, or if they took a running back in round 2. Don't be upset about it. They've done a phenomenal job in the draft. I think it's trust Brad Holmes, and Brad Holmes I trust. Hell, if they go the complete different route that I would want, I'm fine with it. Except for if they took a tight end early. That's the only thing that would piss me off. But other than that, man, I trust Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell. They have shown a hell of a good track record in the draft. I can't argue with what they've done. James Houston, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, they find talent. Lee McNeil, they just find talent. So I'm cool with them, man. If they don't get a guy who I want early, significantly earlier a position, I'm pretty confident 5th and 6th rounds that they're going to find someone that can contribute. I do. After what James Houston did this year, I'm 100% confident in Brad Holmes. I mean, that was absolutely ridiculous how they're finding major starters in the mid to late rounds. So I'm 100% belief that if they go get somebody, they're going to do a phenomenal job. Who is a good nose tackle you can get in the middle rounds? Ooh, there's some good players you can get in the mid to late rounds. Gervon Dexter, defensive tackle there from from Florida. He's somebody you could bet probably in the second round. I think Mozzie Smith, obviously your Michigan fans out there, he's more of a third-round prospect. He could be someone. Jacqueline Roy from LSU, he could be a guy that you could get for sure. And then, obviously, you already know the Brian Bressee and Jalen Carter. Hell, even Seiki Eka. You want a guy who stopped the run. He's 350 pounds. 350 pounds. That guy is the stop the run, big body. A haloti nata with an extra pizza in the gut. So those you can find some good guys that can help out the interior defensive line there. Hashtag FGB, $5 super for my guy Paul Ginder. It says, do you think they do with Amani Oruwariye? Keep it. I think he's not going to be a Detroit Lion next year. I'm confident that they're not going to bring Amani Oruwariye back. He ranked 120 out of 120 cornerbacks. That's not getting the job done. And the only time you heard Amani is when he made fouls. So I don't think he's coming back. I think you're going to see a little bit of turn on that cornerback position. I think you're probably going to pick one up in free agency as starter, and you're probably going to draft one significantly high in the draft. So you're going to see a nice little turnover here. I think Amani is not going to be a Detroit Lion next year. For sure, I just don't believe he is. Hashtag Lions, how many touchdowns and yards for J-Mo next year? I'll go 6 or 7 touchdowns and 750 yards. 7 touchdowns, 750 yards. The reason I want to go more is there is a lot of playmakers on this offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, you've seen what all our tight ends can do getting the touchdowns. And, of course, Jamal Williams, the goal line king. So I think that would be a nice turnaround for him. I think he'll start off hot, but the reason I don't go more touchdowns is because there is so many other players that get the football. It just is. Mike, you're becoming a legend in Michigan. Well, thank you so much, Philip C. Hey, it's good to be a legend than it is good to be a chump. And I would like to be a legend. And, again, I'll be at training camp this year. It will be me there again, and I'm sure that we'll have Dosa Dion there. Everything King there. Speak Easy will be there. We'll all be hanging out again. So if you want to be at training camp, come on down. I'll be there all week for sure. It's easy to spot me. I generally got a name on my back that says my name. So if you want to meet up, maybe we get a couple drinks. Maybe we can do, because I went with Detroit Lions podcast with Chris and Riz. They had a get together. It was really cool. So I went there with them, myself, and Adam Baydoun. And it was a fun time, and we were just talking to Lions fans. So maybe we'll do something like that. Maybe I'll get with some of these guys, and we can get like a area at a bar and just eat some pizza and talk some football for a couple hours. I think that would be fun. Let's see here. Would you sign the former Titans Taylor Lewan and Zach Cunningham? I'm not thinking we should get Taylor Lewan. I don't think we really need. I would like to get a, if they're going to go guard, even though he's more of a tackle, we're good at the tackle position. Backup you can get again in the draft later. I'm not worried about the backup position there. But if you're wanting to get a different guard, I think, even though he could, I don't know if he could actually play guard, but I would rather just do it in the draft. I'm not all about just going into free agency, honestly, for the offensive line. You're just talking about a backup. I'm perfectly fine with depth pieces, but if you're wanting to get a starter, I think the draft is the best way to go for the offensive line. I truly, truly do. How many yards and touchdowns for Jamal next year? Well, if he's here next year, I'll go 13, even though he got 17 this year. If he comes back, I say 13. What he did there with 17 touchdowns, it seems very difficult to repeat. I go 13 touchdowns, though, because they do give this guy the football quite a bit. We got another super chat by my guy, Devin Davis. Thank you so much. This hashtag FGB. What role do you think Megatron will have with the Lions coaching, like a Barry type role? Yeah, I think that's what it'll probably be. I got an idea. How about we just ask him? We'll we'll get Calvin Johnson on LNU, and I'm going to ask him about that for sure. You know, what role he's going to play, how's his body feeling. So we'll just straight up ask him. I think that's the best thing to do, but I do think he'd be like a Barry role where he's more of a mentor to these young guys. You know, for someone like him, he was very well with his money. He wasn't a diva, and maybe he can talk to some of these guys like a Jameson Williams, take him under his wing and be like, look, you don't have to be doing this, you don't have to be doing that. You know, you can just keep your mouth right and be good to go. I mean, that's the best way to go here. Mike G in the building. Man, what's up, Mike G? Got to get back in Woolworth Sports with those guys and talk to those guys. It's been a minute. I've been so busy, and then I had COVID, and that kind of knocked me off my rocker there a little bit. Mr. Detroit City says, Mike, what are your thoughts on free agent Patrick Peterson? Would you bring him alongside a top rookie like Joey Porter Jr.? I feel like I have a lot of friends that are Vikings fans, and they were not happy with Patrick Peterson. They wanted him off his team. Yeah, he's got a good name. Maybe he's over. I think he's over. I think he's too long in the tooth. I think we can do better, in all honesty. So I wouldn't probably bring him in unless like it's a last resort where we miss out on everybody. I could see like a last resort there, but yeah, I'm not one to really bring him in. I would rather go the younger route, like a Jamel Dean, hell, Byron Murphy. I'd take over him right now. I think he's a little bit long in the tooth. But as a last resort, that would be a last resort for sure. That would be. If Jared Goff wins a playoff game next year, how much do you pay him? Well, he's still on 2 years under the deal, Motown, so I'm not going to pay anything to him next year. I will still stay on the deal. I'm always a person that believes you stay on a contract. Like, if you give somebody a contract, just honor the contract and, you know, you continue that way. I mean, 2 years on a deal, there's really no reason to revise it, in all honesty. So just, I don't think he would be a diva quarterback where he's demanding some crazy amount. I don't think he would be forcing the hand. He wouldn't do a franchise. He doesn't seem like that type of person. I think you just let him play in the next 2 years and go from there, in all honesty. But if he wins a playoff game, he should have a freaking statue in Detroit because he would have done something that Matthew Stafford didn't do and something that we haven't done since 1991. So he wins. Hey, if Jared Goff wins a freaking playoff game in Detroit, I'll get a Jared Goff bust. You know, like, I'll be so happy. I've never, you know, the last time they won a playoff game, I was 6 years old. I don't remember that. You know, so it'd be the first time that in my life, I would legitimately see a playoff win. So, and it's not all him, too. To win a playoff game, you got to be good defensively and offensively. So remember, it's not just one guy, and I think quarterbacks get all the credit, then they get all the hate. I think we got to be a little more realistic here that it shouldn't be that way. And I know what the media does, but, you know, to be a top-tier team, to win a playoff game, it's not all on the quarterback. It's not all on the offense. It's not all in one position. You got to be good all around. I think you have to be solid all around. And, you know, I'm not going to give him all the credit, but I give him a lot of damn good credit, you know, because he did something that Stafford couldn't do. Even though we probably should have won that Dallas Cowboys game, but it wasn't a win. So, but yeah, I tried to be a little more realistic with Jared Goff than some other people. You know, like, I don't think he's the greatest quarterback in the world, and he's obviously not the trash. I'm just a realistic there, and not everything's his fault, and not everything is his greatness. Like, if he has a great game, it's not all just him. It's the offensive line as well, I'm sure, and the wide receivers catching the football. But if he throws an interception, it's not on him. It may not be on him. It may be a wide receiver ran the wrong route or it got tipped or something like that. So you just got to, you know, when people rip or give kudos to Jared Goff, let's just understand that it's not all on one person. I got to say this, too. Just something weird going on here. You know, one thing I do love about Jared Goff is there's two things, and you're not going to see that One of them you're not going to see in the stat sheet, and one you are. The one that you are going to see in the stat sheet that is extremely underrated, in which makes him a top 10 quarterback in the NFL to me, especially for this past year, is 7 interceptions. The dude just didn't throw interceptions, and that's the most underrated facet there. You're not turning the ball over. You're winning the football games. I don't need a quarterback to be the biggest arm in the world. I need him to not throw the turnovers. That's what I need. And so I think that is, when they talk about quarterbacks, they talk all these big old number stats. Well, let's talk about interception stats. To me, that's the most important. And he just wasn't doing it in the second half of the season. I give him credit there. And something that's not on the stat sheet is the big first down. Maybe a 5-yard pass. But that 5-yard pass Jared Goff did to DJ Chark in the Green Bay Packers game, the final game of the year, was the best pass he did all year. In crunch time to win the game on the road on Sunday Night Football, and you did it. That's not, you look at the stats and you're like, oh, it's just a 5-yard pass. Yeah, but it's also the hardest pass to do when you got all this pressure on you. So it's not everything is stats. It's really not. I think you got to use the eyeball test as well. And that's why, look, I use PFF, and I say PFF, they do got some good things you got to look at, but it's not the end-all, be-all. It's not. A stat sheet, a 5-yard pass is not going to be on the stat sheet, but it's the biggest 5-yard pass of the season. It is to win the game. And the pass he did to Penei Sewell, that basically was to win the game to get the first down. It's not a big pass, but damn it, that's crunch pass. It is do or die at that point. Or a 4th down conversion. So it's not all stats. And it was after, honestly, when things turned around for me with Jared Goff, it was after the Thanksgiving Day game, whereas that crunch time pass failed, him, DJ Chark, miscommunication, whatever happened there. But after that, he started making these crunch time passes. And when you do that, it's not going to be a stat sheet. That's something that's hard to do. A pressure all that on one player, it's hard to be calm in that type of situation. And I think we've seen Jared Goff this year make those big passes. And I think, I love Matthew Stafford, but there was times he just wouldn't do those things. And yes, he had great stats, lovely stats, 5,000 yards, and he got a cannon of an arm, but I always wanted to see those plays. And so that's something you got to take in consideration for Jared Goff, too, for the future of the Detroit Lions. If he does that next year and he's getting these crucial, this not the biggest stats, I don't care if it's a check down, but if he's consistently getting first downs on 4th downs or winning games on these 5-yard passes, you got to say, you want to know what? That counts just as much as anything else because he's winning football games at that point. You play to win the game. You're not playing for stats. You're not playing for, I just want to rack up 450 yards. Kirk Cousins racked up 420 yards when he lost at Ford Field. Guess what? It means shit if you don't win the game. Jared Goff, just comfortable. Yeah, he's not doing the most dangerous passes. Okay, cool. I don't care. He wins. So just be happy with that. So that's got to come into consideration if they do want to extend him in a couple years. Those plays got to come into consideration. And the interceptions and turnovers. Those, to me, are the most important. I don't really care too much about the touchdowns, right? It's you can hand a football off, he gets the touchdowns. But if you throw the interceptions, turnovers win you and lose you games. We've seen it. We win games when we're ahead in the turnover battle. We lose games. We lose the turnover battle. It's all about winning games. So if Jared Goff goes out there, wins a game on 205 yards passing, but we win the game, I'm happy. I want to win. It's, we dealt with stats. We dealt with stats for many years as Detroit Lions fans. Stats mean absolutely nothing. We want to win football games, and winning is how you define who you are. Dan Campbell, when they traded for Jared Goff, there's one thing he said, and it stuck with me 110% about him, and it is true. There's something about winning. A quarterback who can win. There's something about it. There's just something about it. And you've seen that from Brock Purdy. There's something about winning. He may not be the most dynamic guy on the field, but it's that confidence. It's that ability to rely on your own abilities. It's just putting it all out there. So there's something about that. Something about it's on a contract. Let's see here, on a contract, but we're talking about cutting guys to get out of contracts. It's hilarious. Well, did the contract state for Big V to miss basically 2 seasons? He didn't play last season. Okay, so he's not honoring the contract, right? You can't pay a guy who's not playing. You have to live up to the contract too. You got to live it up to. So if you want to pay a guy for not playing, hey, that's fine with you, but you got to be on the field. You got to hold up your end of the bargain as well. It's not just, oh, we're going to pay you this amount of deal, but I'm not going to play it all. Well, you're not living up to your end of the bargain, and it may not be your fault because you had a back surgery or a back injury, but this is a business. You have to play up to what you're getting paid for. Just right now with the Green Bay Packers, they pay Aaron Rodgers $50 million. Do you think he lived up to the $50 million? No. No, he didn't live up to the $50 million. Okay, so if you're going to get paid at a certain rate, just like your job, any job, if you're a supervisor and you get paid supervisor money, then you need to be supervisor level. If you get paid like the bottom tier and you work as a bottom tier, you're living up to your contract. Michael Brockers, big contract, but he didn't play half of the season. Are you willing to pay a guy to not play? I'm not willing to do that because it's not living up to that contract. So, yeah, you live up to the contract you get, or you're not going to be on the team. That's the way it is. Jared Goff has lived up to his contract. He's lived up to it, so I'm perfectly fine for him to play off. Now, if he falls off a cliff and he sucks or he's injured 90% of the time, he's not living up to it. What do you want? So, yeah, it's a two-way street. It's an absolute two-way street. You got to live up to it. DJ Chark, 1-year deal, $10 million. In the first half, he didn't live up to his contract. The second half, he did. What did I say? I said, when the season is over, I'll give you if I think DJ Chark should come back. And I felt like he lived up to that $10 million deal after the second half of the season. Him and Jared Goff got on the same page. So you can look to potentially give him another contract if you can afford him. Just with any player. Evan Brown, he lived up to his deal last year, and that's why he's probably going to get a bigger deal, whether it be with the Detroit Lions or another team. But when he's on that team, he better live up to that contract that they give him. You're not going to pay somebody supervisor money to be not a supervisor. You're not going to pay in the Army. I was a sergeant. Sergeant pay is much better than specialist or private pay. As a sergeant, you have tasks to be a sergeant. You do this, this, and this. You have to live up to that. If not, well, guess what? You're going to lose your stripes. That's the way it goes. Live up to the deal. Jared Goff is just going to get better. He could definitely get better, 100%. And I hope he does. I think everybody wants to win. Whether we all may have a different way we want this team to win. Maybe you're not a fan of Jared Goff. Maybe you're a Jared Goff lover. Maybe you're a person who likes to run first. Maybe you're a team that wants to have an aerial offense. Maybe you're a person who wants number one type defense and lead the way. We all want the same thing, is to win. We may have different routes to getting there, different ways to build a football team to be a winning football team, but at the end of the day, every single one of you that are Detroit Lions fans want the same thing we all want together, is to win. So we come together, we debate, we talk about it, we may disagree, but at the end of the day, we all want one thing, and that's to win, win, and win. And it's perfectly fine to disagree. It's perfectly fine to completely think that my idea is foolish or vice versa. But at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to win a Super Bowl. We want Detroit to be to be high in the map. We want to go to Micah Parsons and do this to Micah Parsons, how he says that nobody from LA wants to come to Detroit. That's what we want. We want the stigma of the Lions of being a loser team gone. We're tired of it. We want to be a perennial winner. We want to do it the correct way. We want to win, 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 win. You know, we may just come out different ways of getting there, but at the end of the day, we get there. Would you trade up after the 18th pick to take offensive guard Osiris Torrance? Draft defense, trade up. I would definitely, look, I am all about trading up. RJ Graham, a great question here. I'm all about trading up into the first round, late in the first round, to have 3 first-round picks. Look, if you feel there's a player, if Osiris Torrance is still available, it's the 25th pick. You have a grade on Osiris Torrance as a top 15 grade. You think this guy is a great guard, which I do, by the way. I absolutely love Osiris Torrance. I think he would be a mean guard for the Detroit Lions. I think your offensive line would be absolutely ridiculous. If you feel he's there 25 or 26, and you want to get this difference maker, he's a top 15 talent, trade up and get him. I have no problem. I want, just like Brad Holmes, I want difference makers. I want players who are going to play hardcore. If you feel that Osiris Torrance is that, I do too, I agree with you. You put him next to Penei Sewell and Frank Ragnow, and this team potentially could win 1 or 2 more games just because of that. Because the offensive line is ridiculous. And guess what? How do you win when it's cold? You run the damn football, and you beat teams up, and you get physical. And hell yeah, I'm all about that. I'm all about it. 100%. I'm with you, man. I'm with you. So if there is a guy, whether it be Osiris Torrance, who I love, or a Bijan Robinson, or say one of these cornerbacks fall that you didn't expect, like a Christian Gonzalez or Cam Smith or Joey Porter Jr., one of these guys fall, or even a player like Trenton Simpson. And you're like, man, this is value here. He's not going to be available in the second round. Let's go up and get our guy. Then go up and get your guy. I'm all about it. I mean, hell, they almost traded up to get Penei Sewell. And I'm happy we didn't trade up because he was there available, but why the hell not? You know, if you target the guy that you think is going to be a good piece for this team for many years. 100%, I agree. I'm all about that. You know, if that's what they want to do with Jalen Carter, I'm 50-50 on it because you'd probably have to give up the 18th pick. And you know, you don't want to do that. But, you know, if you want, you have to get your guy. If you think it's a difference maker, I'm fine with trading up. I like to trade back, but I understand it 100%. Mike, you know how to roll being in the armed force. It takes a team. Yeah, 100% it takes a team. It's definitely not one person. Like, you can have a legit great squad leader or a platoon sergeant is high speed, low drag. He's one of the best. I mean, he is intellectually smart. He knows exactly what to do when you're outside the wire. But if your team is a pile of crap, you're only as good as your weakest link. And that's facts. Your driver sucks. He can't keep up with the he doesn't know what he's doing. He's freaking out when he sees a pile of garbage on the side of the road. It's every single thing that he sees is a IED. You're going to have some problems. So it's all about team. It's all about the team effort. You got to be strong all around. And you're 100% right. It's not just about one person. You can have a great soldier, absolute stud, but if you got piles of crap turds behind him, it doesn't really mean anything. Doesn't really mean anything. Can we give Micro Mike a steroid test? It's 100% right, man. Hey, I was looking at particular types of it wasn't a steroid, but it was like some new thing that's coming out. You take a pill, and it helps build muscle. I was like, hey, that's interesting, man. That's interesting. I may have to take a look at that. 100%. I'd rather have Osiris St. Brown. Hey, man, look, if you want the all-Egyptian team, there you go. I'm telling you, if they take Osiris Torrance, we can be walking like an Egyptian over here. We going all Egyptian. I'm going to have to go through each single year in the draft and look for Egyptian names and just say that's who they're taking here. Last year we were the all-injured team. This year we can be the all-Egyptian team. Are you ready for March Madness? You know, I don't actually watch basketball. I got to get into it, but I'm not a basketball guy. I just don't watch it because I didn't play it. Interesting is, I played baseball, did wrestling, track, and football, and my daughter's boyfriend, he's a really good baseball player. He's going into his senior year. So I was like, maybe watch that and watch him play some baseball this year, and hopefully they can go to state and win the state. But, yeah, I don't watch basketball, even though it's funny, probably all the sports I play basketball the most because I have a hoop outside. So when it's nice out, I play with the kids. I play with the kids, and we play some basketball, and they beat me up, and good half hour to an hour fun with the kids, something that they can do. Because I had 2 girls, and it's hard to play just football, girls, or baseball. So basketball is something they can do. How likely is EQ to try out with us next year? Is he contractually right now with the Chicago Bears with his 1-year deal? I don't know if he is on the Bears roster. So you'd have to let me know there. I haven't looked at his contract, if he's actually a free agent or not. I don't know that. But, look, it'd be cool to have 2 St. Browns, but at the same time, I think they're probably going to try to bring back DJ Chark, and if not, they'll probably just draft a guy later in the draft to fill that role. Because if you look at our wide receiver room, it is studded. It is really good. I mean, Khalif Raymond's really good. I love what he brings to his football team, and you just look through it all. We really don't have a need at the wide receiver position. We don't, unless Chark leaves. I don't know if that's going to occur. But it really depends on what that guy's what EQ's contract is, if he's going to be a Bear or not. $5 super from Paul the Goat Ginder says, #FGB. Thank you so much for a $5. He says, hey, Mike, what would you think if they offered Megatron the wide receivers coach? I don't believe he's a coaching type of guy. In all honesty, he doesn't seem to have that type of mentality to be a coach. I think he's a good mentor, but a coach, he doesn't seem like that type of person. He's not the most outspoken guy in the world. He's soft-spoken individual, and he's also got that marijuana business where he does a lot with that, so he may not want to do that. In all honesty, mentor probably more up his alley. In all honesty, let's see. Mike should take Mozzie Smith in round 3. They potentially could, definitely potentially could. For the Detroit Lions, he could be an option in round 3. That's where he's going to get drafted, is round 3, I do believe. And if the Lions haven't addressed the interior defensive line, that could be a player they look at. We'll see what free agency does. What's really good is all these questions that we've been having about what they're going to do in the draft. It really starts in free agency here. So we'll know after about 2 weeks of free agency kind of what their needs are and how they're going to target that position. We'll definitely know. Folks, if you haven't hit that like button, we got 60 likes right now and 150 in the building. Go ahead and smash that like button. Let's get to 75 likes. We'll have fun there. Did you see that Tyreek Hill said he would play for Jared Goff? Your thoughts? Frog Crop, I did see that, man. It seems like he's regretting going over there to the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa. I seen that. I came out of nowhere because it's not like they never played together, did they? So I don't think so. He was a Kansas City Chief his whole career, and then he went to the Miami Dolphins. So that was interesting. Maybe they're friends behind the scenes, but I didn't expect that. Tyreek Hill, but it's interesting. That's kind of a shot at Tua. Like, bruh, you just signed over there last year, and you're already talking about playing for another quarterback. So, yeah, I thought that was interesting. I really did. Maybe some of these players value Jared Goff more than the mainstream media, but I wasn't expecting that. Came out of nowhere. So, that's cool. Look, that's big praise because Tyreek Hill is one of the best receivers in the NFL, even though he's a little bit, on the diva side. But at the end of the day, for him singling out Jared Goff as a quarterback he'd like to play with, shocking. Generally, it's the same quarterbacks you always hear. I do Patrick Mahomes, which he did play with. Aaron Rodgers, I love playing with him. But, man, that's kind of a shot at Tua. Like, if I'm Tua, I'm like, what the hell, dude? It's like, don't you want to play with me? I found that one interesting. How the Lions going to get Hill? What Hill? I don't know what player you're talking about there. Let's see. Tom Brady's asked to be the Detroit Lions coach. Would you hire? Yeah. Tom Brady is definitely a good quarterback, but he's going to probably be a sportscaster making like $300 million. But yeah, man, him or a Peyton Manning. I think those two is just grouped in. They understand the quarterback position like no other, leadership skills, everything. Those guys would be absolutely awesome. But they'll be on ESPN making a crap ton of money. How many of our free agents do you think we re-signed? I think we signed quite a bit there. Let me get all the free agent list. We can go over it really quick. Detroit Lions free agency. I think there's a couple guys they can definitely look at here to resign, because it's not like these are all big time guys. But DJ Chark, I think they'll attempt to re-sign him. I think it's 50-50 there. Jamal Williams, honestly, before probably last week I thought it was like 99 out of 100. I'd say 75%. He comes back just because of the Carolina Panthers and Deuce Staley over there, but I think the Lions do re-sign him. Mike Hughes can come back. It's going to be a low-end one-year deal. I don't have a problem with him. Alex Anzalone, I'm now like probably 40-60 that he's maybe not come back. They could upgrade that position. So Evan Brown, I think he's going to get paid more than we had expect. So maybe he doesn't come back, not because we don't want him back. It's because he may want to be a starter somewhere. I think he deserves to be a starter somewhere, and he's going to want to get a giant pay raise, and we just can't do that for a backup role. Chris Board, it'd be a veteran minimum, so I could see him coming back. Deshaun Elliott, I haven't heard anything on his front, but I think they'll try to bring him back. 75-25, yes. Nate Sudfeld, I don't think he comes back. Justin Jackson, for sure. I think he'll come back on a one-year deal. Isaiah Buggs, yes. Will Harris, I don't want him to come back. I don't, but I'm 50-50 on it. Dan Skipper, yeah, I think he comes back here. Veteran minimum. Austin Bryant, no, I don't see him coming back. Matt Nelson, yeah, it'd be a cheap deal, backup role. John Kaminsky absolutely will come back. Amani, no, I don't think he does. Benito Jones, does it really matter? No. Tommy Kramer, does it really matter? Not really. Backup role. Brock Wright, yeah, come back. Scott Daly, does it really matter? He's a long snapper. You veteran minimum there, so yeah. Anthony Pittman, no. Trinity Benson, no. Bobby Price, iffy. So yeah, I think we can get some of these guys to come back because it's not big names, except for DJ Chark and Jamal Williams. Other than that, it's not really big names. It's not like something that's going to kill your cap. So, you need depth too. That's what's good about signing your own guys in free agency. It's not all about the starters, also about the depth. Mike, I did a lot of mock drafts last year. I have done 40 this year, not that much yet. Yeah, I know mock drafts. I'm looking at mocks every single day. Seeing the trends, what the trends are going towards, and what are people that are in the know kind of starting to think about these prospects. And what's good is we got the NFL Combine next week, and we're going to have a very good idea of how things are going to look after the NFL Combine. Tua is one hit away from being done. Hill looking at Detroit saying possible Super Bowl. I know. Yeah, it's interesting, man. You'd have to trade for Tyreek Hill. He signed that 3-year deal with the Miami Dolphins, or he got traded, and you're not going to be able to just get him. But I don't think the Lions get Tyreek Hill, just FYI, at all, because first off, you'd have to trade for him. Secondly, they just traded for him. Miami just did that, and they gave up a ton, so we're not going to be getting him. I just thought as a slight at Tua and a love to Jared Goff. It's just funny how that stuff works there. Let's see. Hashtag Brady got $375 million for 10 years at Fox and will be taking over Greg Olsen. Yeah, Greg Olsen. I seen Greg Olsen talk, and he says, I'm fighting for my job. And Greg Olsen's actually a really good commentator. I actually like him probably the most out of all the commentators. And so, yeah, I want him to keep going. He does a really good job, and he's not biased or anything like that. So Tom Brady got paid big ass money, man. We're talking big money. So yeah, he wants that media money. Gonna get hate for this, but Holmes loves signing busts and free agents. Tease Tabor is still only 26 years old. Give him a shot. Look, I'd rather give myself a shot at the cornerback than Tease Tabor. I'm done with Tease Tabor. Dude's slow. There's a lot of free agent cornerbacks you can get that I feel like has a higher ceiling. A low-cost one like Byron Murphy from the Cardinals. I think he would be a great fit for a low-cost guy, one-year deal, who's actually talented. And his whole career, he wasn't injured except for this last year. This is more of an anomaly injury, and he was dogged the whole time. So I think that could be an option, cheap deal, maybe $4 or $5 million. Or you can go and get a bigger guy, but I think there's other options out there than Tease Tabor. Tease Tabor, look, you can go to the Chicago Bears, stay over there. Hey, Mike, what do you think Karen Rodgers does now that he is out of his dark place? Man, that dude's a weirdo, isn't he? Like, look, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm not going to lie to you. I believe in a lot of conspiracies. I think Kennedy was killed not just by one person. Okay, I do believe that. I believe there's multi people that probably killed him. There's no real proof of it, right? I do believe that, I believe in other conspiracy theorists. But he's on a different level of a weirdo, and paying big money to be in a box for 3 days in the dark. Fucking weird, man. He's got some weird ideas. I'm not saying they're all bad. I just think he's on the fringe of a weirdo there, starting to become like I said, I'm a conspiracy theorist. You could talk to me. I believe there's aliens out there. I believe in UFOs. I don't think it's fake. But this dude, he probably believes in weird stuff. But I think he's gone. I think Green Bay is done with Karen Rodgers. I think he gets traded, even though I'd prefer him, honestly, to stay here because I don't want Green Bay to get a ton of first-round picks and really speed up their rebuild. I think if they were to get like 2 first-round picks, they can actually speed up their rebuild if they were to trade Aaron Rodgers. I think he's on the downfall. Plus, man, it's getting worse for this dude every year. It'd be, one more year, he'd be done. So unless they don't get everything he wants to get, then I'm perfectly fine. I'm perfectly fine with that. But I do think he's not going to be in Green Bay. I think he's out of the NFC North. And it will be Raiders or the Jets, one of those teams. I'm obsessed with ancient civilizations and their technology. Hater House, I'm with you, man. I do believe in that. I believe that the Earth has, I think there's, been past civilization you don't know about. The Earth is, 6 billion years old? So maybe there was the Dryas era back 10,000 years ago where a meteor or something hit the ice and knocked out Atlantis. I believe there's absolutely that there's potentially been civilizations in the past. Like I said, I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not a completely out there conspiracy theorist. I'm not sit there and think everything is a whack job like Karen, man. That dude is weird, man. I'm weird. That dude is weird, bro. He's up there. You know where he's the perfect place he needs to go to? He needs to go to Gannon over there at the Arizona Cardinals. Have like the all weird team. Have all the all weird team, and they all could have some vans that are rusty and it says free candy on it. They can have the all weird team, have a bunch of all the weirdos. Bring in their Antonio Brown. He can go up there and be their wide receiver, and have the old weird team. Oh my God. But folks, we've been on for about an hour, and I got some things to do. I appreciate it. Micro Mike is an alien. He has a microchips in his neck, man. Hey, look, I got something in my neck, but it ain't no microchip. It's a double neck fusion. But I got some titanium in my neck. But, the younger Dryas. Yep, that's what younger Dryas. There was that Netflix, I watched that Netflix series. I forgot the guy's name, but I could see something like that for sure. It wouldn't shock me at all. I mean, dude, like we are a species of amnesia. We don't even know what happened 1,000 years ago. Civilizations we forget. Hell, we're getting to the point where people are starting to forget just 100 years ago. So we're a species of amnesia. Wouldn't shock me at all. Wouldn't shock me at all. But I appreciate everybody hanging out. I got some things to do. Have video dropping tomorrow and on Saturday, and we'll get back at it, man. Next week, NFL Combine, and then week after that, we're really getting into free agency. With that said, folks, adios.
Searching for greatness in a sea of the dying and shameless, a sea of the aimless. I don't wanna be one of the nameless. I'ma wake up with the mindset that one day I'm gonna make it, and I don't think I'll be fine if I don't break my limitations. Don't try to stop me, I exist to write my own story. I'll make a decision if I want some peace or if I want the glory. Yeah, don't want a life that is complacent or possibly boring. I just want a life that is worth every day exploring.
My whole life I just wanted someone who would notice me. My whole life I just wanted to be somebody to be. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be great. Yeah, I just wanna be